Niall, what's in your notes?
Well, today, Robbie, it is partly to do with your home state, because Donald Trump will go to Michigan today for a rally marking his 100th day back in power. The president will no doubt boast about his own greatness. Self-praise is no praise, of course, but Trump has spent decades showing he believes otherwise. The problem is that his vanity is often at odds with reality. Here's the thing that neither Trump himself nor his legions of courtiers will ever acknowledge. Donald Trump is not very popular, and he never really has been. Back in 2016, he and Hillary Clinton were the least popular major party candidates in history. Trump eked out an electoral college win while losing the popular vote by almost 3 million to Clinton. In 2020, he lost to Joe Biden comfortably. By the time his hands were finally prized from power after the insurrection he incited, his approval rating was in the 30s. Last November's victory over Kamala Harris may well be Trump's high point in terms of popular appeal. And now, look at him. A new poll from ABC News and the Washington Post found he has the lowest 100-day approval of any president in the past 80 years. In the polling average maintained by the Hill's partner, Decision Desk HQ, Trump's job approval rating now sits roughly 9 points underwater. On the day he was inaugurated, he was 17 points into positive territory. It's an astonishingly rapid decline, and it's also an easily explainable one. Because for all the bazillion words printed and spoken about Trump, there are a couple of main reasons why people oppose him. In the first camp are people who recognise him as a dark and aberrational figure, a real outright threat to American democracy. The second, often less ideological tent, is filled with those who see him as fundamentally incompetent. Trump being Trump, he has given ample evidence to support both those theories in the past 100 days. Now, I'll come to the threats to democracy in a minute, but it's clear from the polls that the competence question is reaching some Americans in a way that grander arguments do not. There's no better example than the Liberation Day tariffs. They are Trump's biggest self-inflicted wound so far. His April 2nd announcement cratered the markets, sparked fears of renewed inflation, and drew warnings from retailers about empty shelves. Trump persevered for a week before this supposedly immovable and courageous president turned tail. The main reason was that the bond markets turned queasy. Here he is, 1 week after Liberation Day.
I was watching the bond market. The bond market is very tricky. I was watching it, but if you look at it now, it's beautiful. The bond market right now is beautiful. But yeah, I saw last night where people were getting a little queasy. I think everything had, well, the big move wasn't what I did today. The big move was what I did on Liberation Day.
What he did on Liberation Day has messed up the perceptions of his ability to manage the economy. A Fox News poll released last week found that the percentages of registered voters disapproving of his performance on tariffs and the broader economy was way up into the 50s. The approval numbers way down in the 30s. The tariff trauma is part of a larger picture of incompetence too. There was the group chat about an imminent attack on Yemen that included a journalist by mistake. The claims of savings by Elon Musk's Doge that proved false. The firings as part of that effort of workers on crucial topics like nuclear safety and bird flu that had to be reversed. And now to the other part of the story. I suppose Trump's fans and foes agree on one thing. He's certainly exceptional, exceptionally resilient, and also exceptionally dangerous. A quick reminder of what he's done during his first 100 days. Punished law firms that represented his opponents, made a power grab at colleges seeking to control what they teach, ordered the Justice Department to investigate 2 critics by name, removed security protection from people with whom he's disagreed, given clemency to thugs convicted of January the 6th offences, including attacks on police officers, ignored a court order to turn around deportation flights, ignored an immigration court order not to deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to El Salvador, called for a judge's impeachment. Oh, and also imprisoned people in El Salvador on next to no evidence. Every one of these details forms a damning bigger picture. The deportations issue isn't only about immigration, it's about whether Trump will obey the rule of law. The attack on the law firms isn't about the finer points of jurisprudence, and the attack on colleges isn't really about anti-Semitism. It's about using the heavy hand of government to crush potential centres of dissent. Millions of Americans believe the evidence of their own eyes. They see that Donald Trump has more contempt for democratic values than any other president of their lifetimes. Contempt for dissent, contempt for pluralism, contempt for any form of restraint upon his political appetites. And so that's why the Trump record stands at 100 days. Incompetence on one hand, creeping authoritarianism on the other. It's no wonder he's already in trouble.
Well, we know that President Trump would not have gotten a positive grade from Niall on any of these fronts, even before the recent news. Look, I concede that Trump's approval ratings are rapidly slipping. I think what's interesting is that they were still pretty good until about like a month and a half ago, and it seems clear that it's the tariffs. The big thing is the tariffs, and that is the policy under which, even though I'm on the right of center seat, I am most estranged from Trump on. I think it was not a good idea. I support the efforts by Rand Paul currently in the Congress to actually wrest control of tariff policy from the executive. And it, as you said, is very self-inflicted because there was no demand to do this. There was demand to do this from a number of idiosyncratic thinkers inside the MAGA coalition, like Peter Navarro, and basically no one else. And
Steve Bannon, perhaps.
Steve Bannon, but Steve Bannon, he wants high taxes. He wants to destroy businesses. He wants to do things that typically conservatives don't want to do. Some of the things that typical conservatives want to do, I think, are bad, like bombing and invading every other foreign country. But this is one where you could stick to what the normal Republican policy was, and you would do well. The only caveat I guess I will add to your analysis is that I think right now the Democrats are benefiting from having no clear face of their party. They are kind of going, after all, with the James Carville do nothing and wait for Trump to make a mistake. I think you can't argue Trump has made a mistake in terms of the tariff policy. When there's a prominent Democrat back on the scene, someone for Republicans to point to and say, this is what it's going to be if it's not going to be Trump, is this what you want? The approval ratings might rebound. Trump is subject to some normal political at the end of the day. He has a low ceiling and a high floor, but there is fluctuation in there among the group of independents, particularly in the swing states, who don't love everything about Trump but really didn't like what they were going to get from Biden and Harris. And once I think they're reminded of that, particularly if what Democrats decide to do is a hard pivot to the left, given that that's the only thing they have going for them right now. I think that could help Trump.
On the point of the tariffs, I do agree, and I think I made the point in those notes that I do think the tariff question reaches voters who are not otherwise estranged from Trump. Kamala Harris did, of course, make the democracy argument in the lead up to the election, and she still lost. Now, I would argue that the things he has done are even more egregious since then, but there's no question that the tariffs do reach voters who are more in the middle ground or who are less animated by ideological concerns or concerns about pluralism. But I mean, I know we're probably shortly out of time, but from a libertarian standpoint, surely you must have quite a few fears, given that, as I understand libertarianism, part of its central sort of warning is about the heavy hand of government. You must have major concerns about the way he's using that, surely.
Oh, I do. I don't know. I've made no secret of the fact that I think the deportations are going well beyond what can be justified, and it's not about he's a wonderful father or something, so he should be returned to the country. But they should do what the court justices say, and frankly, the revocations of the visa status for the students was actually more troubling to me, because that is very clearly a speech and due process issue where I think is just utterly indefensible and is such a clear violation of my principles. But, I'm not a cheerleader for either side.
I understand.
Would be very upset and cross with Democrats, I'm sure, if they were in charge. Trump briefly tricked me or fooled me for the first couple weeks before these kinds of overreaches started on tariffs and deportations and things, and it was just going to be Doge slashing areas of government. I was like, oh, I guess I can get on board with this. This is mostly just what I want. Now they're doing a lot more of the stuff I don't really want, and it's unfortunate.
We find
it's a missed opportunity.
We find a degree of harmony before you implicitly expressed your admiration for Elon Musk, and then we diverged again.
No, he's going to be out of the picture, and Trump will be more governed by people that I think. Well, we'll have to find out what their economic policies are, but I have a feeling I'm not going to like them, and you're not going to like them either.
I think that is true.
Next up, it was a stunning return for the Liberals in Canada's election last night, thanks in large part to Trump's threats against our northerly neighbor, the 51st state. Don't think that's going to happen. Stay tuned.